Hi, movie recap zones here. Today, I will make sense of a loathsomeness spine-chiller film called Walden. Spoilers ahead. Keep an eye out and fare thee well. The film starts with a youngster caught in the middle of dividers. Not long later, concrete starts pouring down on her from all points. The young lady can't go elsewhere, she is covered alive. The scene moves to 15 years after the fact. A youthful specialist, Sam, has quite recently moved on from school. At her graduation celebration, her dad, a proprietor of a destruction organization, gives her a gift, a task administering the destruction of a structure in no place. On the off chance that she's effective, she will end up being his accomplice. Her first task is this monstrous extraordinary design structure, a loft building, situated out in the center of no place. The design is the result of Joseph Malestraza, who was a capricious draftsman fixated on Egyptian design. Samantha shows up at the Malestraza constructing and is welcomed by Mary, the guardian. She lives with her child, Jimmy, who is an introvert kid. Sam tells Mary she will remain in one of the lofts in the structure. Jimmy takes her sacks to her loft and makes sense of the principles of the structure. She is to remain off the 8th floor since it is Malestraza's, and the rooftop since it is excessively hazardous. As she is strolling to her room, she sees a room marked as Julie's. She then goes into her room and promptly scrubs down to tidy herself up. Soon thereafter, she meets Mary and asks her what number of individuals actually live in this loft. Mary answers that main 4 individuals live in it. Mary and Jimmy are in the structure to care for it until its day of annihilation. The wide range of various inhabitants have been removed, yet 2 would not leave. The following day, Sam plans to investigate the design of the structure. Sam is responsible for giving a report on the amount TNT is expected to thump down this building. She should decide the best crack focuses and kind of explosives. A couple of hours after the fact, she goes to a minimarket to get a few food and beverages. Wondering for no specific reason, she acquires a PC to peruse the historical backdrop of the apartment complex. She finds that in 1993, there were a progression of missing individuals. Whenever they were at long last found, it was terrible. 16 individuals, everyone, were fixed in little compartments in the structure, which were then loaded up with fluid cement. One of the casualties was simply the modeler Malestraza. A development specialist was at first faulted for the homicides, however at that point viewed as honest, leaving the wrongdoings strange and the killer obscure. Back at the structure, Sam again denotes the best break focuses to thump down the structure. Be that as it may, she is astonished when a man runs towards her conveying a hatchet. Incidentally, this man is one of the occupants who actually lives here and denies to leave. Also, he is miserable about the annihilation of the structure. Around evening time, Jimmy covertly takes more time to the 8th floor, the prohibited floor. Jimmy informs Sam regarding Malestraza, the draftsman of the structure, who kicked the bucket inside the divider. He goes into a room and shows her the divider where Malestraza's body was found. Whenever his body was found, his face was nearly ripped off in view of the concrete. His face was presently not conspicuous. His mom, Mary, was the person who at long last figured out how to recognize him. Jimmy additionally illuminates her that out of the 16 casualties, there was a little kid named Julie. She was the kid displayed toward the start of the film. She was additionally the kid living in the room Sam saw previously. Moreover, Jimmy tells her that his dad was additionally one of the people in question. He then, at that point, continues to show her the divider where his dad was found. The lights go out and Sam cuts her leg subsequent to overreacting in the murkiness. Afterward, Jimmy washes her injury and starts to touch her thigh. Clearly the youthful person likes her and he attempts to take action on her, however. She advises him to stop. In the evening, Sam, who is examining the mirror, sees the glass behind her shaking brutally. She lifts the mirror and sees blood streaming out of the opening. Abruptly, Sam is quickly maneuvered into the divider and she awakens understanding that she is currently caught inside. After a second, concrete starts pouring down on her from all points. She can't go elsewhere. As she begins shouting, she awakens from her rest. It ends up being a bad dream. As she can never again rest, she meanders around her condo. Out of nowhere, something shows up directly before her, stunning her. In any case, it's simply her sweetheart, Peter, who needs to give her a shock. Sam takes more time to check out the loft. They subtly go to the 8th floor. While investigating the 8th floor, Sam and her sweetheart find a mysterious path. On the floor, Sam goes down it and she finds a mystery room. This room would permit somebody to covertly see any of the lofts. Sam understands that Jimmy has been keeping an eye on her while she's cleaning up. She converses with Mary about it, and Jimmy, who feels humiliated, leaves. Sometime thereafter, Peter believes that Sam ought to leave tomorrow, and she concurs with him. As Peter and Sam get to know each other that evening, Jimmy becomes desirous of them. The next day, Sam packs her garments to leave the condo. She likewise readies a report on the amount TNT is expected to thump down the structure. Prior to separating, Jimmy apologizes to Sam for keeping an eye on her. He then, at that point, gives a gift to Sam. He provides Sam with a duplicate of the diary of Malestraza, the structure's draftsman. Sam acknowledges from perusing the diary that there should be a huge open space in the middle of the structure. Jimmy goes to the rooftop to search for an opening to the secret space. Notwithstanding, he doesn't return. Sam and her sweetheart follow to search for Jimmy. They find a monstrous shaft in the focal point of the structure. They hear Jimmy calling from down in the shaft. It is harm to say that Sam has her beau bring down her into the shaft on a rope. 533. From the outset, everything goes without a hitch, with practically no issues by any means. Be that as it may, abruptly, Peter is shot by somebody with sharp iron. Therefore, Peter bites the dust draining before his sweetheart, who's stunned seeing this. Sam tumbles to the base. Sam stirs at the lower part of the shaft. Shockingly, she isn't the only one there. There is a baffling individual. Incredibly, that strange man is Malestraza, the designer, who she thought has been dead. Buried in the divider. Incidentally, he has been caught there this entire time. Malestraza is holding a radio. In the radio recording, there is Jimmy's voice requesting help. As such, the voice that Sam heard before is pre-recorded by Jimmy himself. In no time, Jimmy sends her a letter from a higher place. In the letter, it is compassed that Jimmy is holding her down there until she figures out how to cherish him. Jimmy then, at that point, sends Sam's destruction report to her dad and sinks her vehicle into a lake. This is completely done to make the discernment that Sam hasn't gotten back in light of the fact that she travels with her sweetheart. Back in the shaft, Malestraza tells her a stunning disclosure. He uncovers that he was the driving force behind the killings of 16 individuals who were seen as buried in the divider. Malestraza accepts that the key to the lifespan of antiquated Egyptian landmarks is that they led customs during development, that elaborate covering living casualties inside the dividers. He believes his structures should endure forever, so he covered individuals alive inside its dividers. He further uncovers that one of the casualties was Mary's better half. Along these lines, as a demonstration of vengeance, Mary chooses to keep Malestraza secured in this shaft everlastingly as a detainee. Mary likewise tricked everyone by distinguishing other casualties' body as Malestraza's. Everybody accepted that untruth and thought that Malestraza had passed on, so she can keep Malestraza herself as her detainee. After this stunning disclosure, Jimmy is once again at the opening and sends down a tape. Malestraza plays the tape, and Jimmy says that he needs to see Sam and Malestraza dance. Malestraza advises her that they need to submit to Jimmy's structure. Assuming they do what Jimmy needs, Jimmy is great, however can be exceptionally horrible and innovative if they defy Jimmy's requests. Thus, Sam consents to move. However, when Jimmy advises them to kiss, she rejects. Malestraza pulls her nearby and compels her to kiss him. Following a couple of moments, Jimmy advises them to stop and compromises Malestraza not to contact Sam. Once more. As a gift for their compliance, Jimmy sends down a crate with food, water, and a two-way radio. He advises Sam to keep the radio with her so they can talk and be close. Soon thereafter, Mary comes to the rooftop. Sam quickly shouts to find support from Mary. Mary is exceptionally shocked to see Sam in the opening with Malestraza. Mary irately lets Jimmy know that the spot was for the engineer, not for any other individual. She understands that Sam should remain worse than broke with Malestraza, or probably she'll report this episode to the police, and they'll remove Mary, and Jimmy will be a vagrant. In the early evening, Sam's dad and his destruction group, who have accepted Sam's report, show up at this condo. They start to set up the explosives. Somewhere else, Sam is as yet trapped in debt with Malestraza. Sam keeps on enticing Jimmy, trusting that he will liberate her and save her from the explosions.